So I made my debut against France. Yeah, who was that, mate? Did someone die? I said, no, I just got picked for the Wallabies. And apparently because my face had just gone pale. Like, statue, bro? And I'd just be standing there like a statue training in the team like, shit, you know. And I knew George Smith and Sterling like from Brumbies, but like just, you know, there's Lottie Takiri and Matt Giddo, and I was just, met the Queen. That was pretty awesome to get to go to the
talk about it.
Windsor Castle. Have a little sip, pass it round, saying, we've drunk the Queen's dregs, the water. And it was straight gin on the rocks. And I was like, respect. Everything's going to be fine and be happy all the time. Catastrophizing, ruminating, black and white thinking. And she said, gave me the sheet and she said, Ben, how many of these do you have? And I looked at the sheet. I had all 12.
Welcome back to another episode of That Backyard Property Pod. I'm on tour, I'm in Canberra, and I have a legend with me. A publican, a keynote speaker, entrepreneur, father, husband, Wallaby 825, Ben Alexander. Welcome.
Thanks, Mick. Thanks for having me. And welcome to Canberra, leg of your tour.
I know, it's been a while since I've been here. I ran past Mooseheads today. It still looks exactly like I left it, so...
Yeah, good.
Nice
good.
to be back.
It's going strong as always, I think. Not that I know.
Not that you know. I'm really pumped to go. Talk about the Wallabies, talk about R4R running for resilience, talk about the journey you've had since rugby as well. But I love starting these conversations off talking about a home. What does home mean to you?
Oh, it's just a place to relax. You can go home, forget about everything that's happening outside the world or outside. It's just a place to relax, really. Yeah, and recharge, and then getting ready to then go back out into the world and do whatever challenges or adventures or whatever you got. But yeah, when you're at home, it's just a place to relax and recoup and get ready to go again the next day.
Is there much relaxing going on with the household you've got at the moment, the three kids?
Yeah, we're pretty good. Lots of Uno in the evening. The girls, they got bloody good. They really keep me on my toes. I actually rarely win now, which I don't know if that's a sign of that they're quite clever or maybe I'm a bit thick.
Yeah.
But it's it's awesome. It's not a big place, but we love it. We're just, not on top of each other, but we do spend a lot of time with each other. It's bringing us close together, and when we're in a good rhythm, there's lots of relaxing. But any household with 3 young kids under 10, there's never, you're never going to get too much quiet time.
And what was home like growing up? Are there good, fond memories of home? What does that take you to?
I moved around heaps as a kid. So my dad's work, he's a geneticist, so researcher, and we moved around heaps. So we was in Sydney, Melbourne, the US, and then we finally settled in Sydney when I was, I think, about year 6. And so we lived on 5 acres, sort of on the edge of Sydney, which was awesome. I mean, it was a long way from school, so I do remember a lot of time travelling to and from school, and it was be an hour to school and nearly 2 hours home in the Arvo. So, and then weekends we were just at sport all the time. So, I don't have a huge amount of sentimental memories of like a family home because we moved so much, and then we were in Sydney. By the time we settled in a family home, my siblings were probably different because I was the eldest. So I left as soon as I was 18, moved to Canberra, but I probably got more sentimental memories at my grandparents' house, where they were in Canberra. So I remember a lot of my formative memories as a kid with my cousins, and grandparents had a chook shed, and I remember my sister eating their basset hound's dog shit when she was a baby. There's a lot of great memories at my grandparents' house and their holiday house, but from mine, none really, just because we moved around so much. But a lot of fun memories living in the US though, like the house there, waking up as a kid. In winter, you'd go to bed in winter, whether there be a snow alert or something, and you'd go to bed and you'd wake up middle of the night and look out to see if there was any snow falling. And the next morning, if there was snow everywhere, you'd run downstairs at 5 a.m. to turn the telly on and to see which school districts the buses had been stopped by the snow. So that loving that, school's off, damn, and you get to go, and it snowed as well. It was like winning the jackpot, in the US, that school, whenever it snowed enough that school got cancelled. So
How long were you there?
I was there 3 years. So it was from when I was about 8 to 11. So really formative years. I mean, I do remember life before then, but the first, remember those memories really clearly. And it was amazing. Seattle, sort of America in the 90s. Took Jen, my wife, back 20 years later, I went and saw the house that we lived in, and it was actually a bit sad. You read a lot of the stories on the internet that America's sort of not what it used to, and there's got a lot of problems. And it was a bit of a. I hadn't been back after we'd left in '95, and then 2015 took her to the house, and it looked like. And I remember the suburb, Briar. It's on the outskirts of Seattle. Everything was green grass. Every house was perfect. Really like a picturesque what you imagine American suburbia is like out of the movies. But then going there 20 years later, like no one had mowed their lawns. Every house was like very run down. And we went to the corner store and it looked like nothing. Like every single thing that was on sale 20 years ago was still on sale. And it looked like the city, that suburb. I mean, I don't know what's the rest of Seattle, but that suburb looked like it had been caught a bit of a time warp. So I don't know, where I'm getting to, but they're just sort of, some memories I've got of houses, of homes, of growing up.
It sounds like, because the fascinating thing about talking about homes with people is it takes you to all sorts of memories. Seattle and your chook shed with the grandparents. Like, I think it's really special just exploring those memories again.
Well, and going back, the places always feel a lot smaller because you're like, you were just a kid running around and these places feel huge. And then when you go see them as adult, you're like, oh, that's pretty small. Which is how we all fit in there.
Yeah,
so
memories definitely change over time.
Yeah. So, so some great memories of some houses, but I don't have like a family home that that we grew up in that you sort of hear about in the movies that people sort of that they were born in and lived there for 20 years. That was and parents have sold that house. We lived in Dural. How long were they there for? They were there maybe 15 years, and now they're at Pennant Hills, which hopefully our kids have got some really great memories of going to grandma and grandpa's, and it's actually right near where Pennant Hills Oval, where I first played rugby. So it's like 100 metres from the holy grail of Australian rugby with Pennant Hills Oval. We're the home of the Beecroft Cherrybrook, which was my first rugby team. So whenever we go back to mum and dad's and we drive past Pennant Hills Oval, definitely every time the memories come back of playing for Beecroft. It was the only team I played in that won a premiership as well. It was my first season. Beecroft under 12s went undefeated. Don't think we even had a try scored against us. We're very, very dominant. So I get like a lot of those memories when I go to mum and dad's now is just driving past Pennant Hills Oval.
That's so special.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's such a good segue to take us on the rugby journey. You've had quite a journey, and the journey kind of continues in support. I wasn't going to mention it, but the Owls, mighty
hoot. We can't put the mocker on them. When's this out? Will this be out in time?
It'll be out after it.
So we'll know. Okay.
We'll know the result. So best of luck, Lockie Crichton.
Hoot.
Hoot, hoot. Wallabies, 2008, big year for you.
Yep.
A few things happened in 2008. It was Super Rugby debut, Wallaby debut. What was it like? What was that year like?
It was a blur.
Yeah.
Like I loved rugby. Like whenever we moved around, it was like whenever we moved to a new school, it was always through sport was my way of making friends. Whether in the US, when we were in Melbourne, it was basketball. And then moved to the US and it was baseball, basketball, playground, NFL. And then when we came back to Australia, some family friends convinced my parents to sign me and my brothers up to play rugby. And I just played every year because I loved it, especially my first season under Alan Metcalf. We had a Kiwi for our coach for that Beecroft under 12s. And I'm still friends with a few of the guys from that team. And I just played every year because I loved it. Then went to a rugby school and played a lot more and played some rep stuff. But it was never a dream of mine to play for the Brumbies, let alone Wallabies. I never thought I'd be good enough. I was good, but I wasn't the best player in the team and I wasn't making state or anything. I just played every year because I loved it, loved watching the Wallabies, and all my favourite Wallabies were pretty much all of them were Brumbies. Mm-hmm. So even though I'd never been to Canberra, I liked watching the Brumbies. They were obviously pretty red hot Super Rugby side back then. Yeah, in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were the best Aussie side by a long way, and probably the best club in the world for a couple of years there. So loved watching them and finished school in 2002 and just came to Canberra for uni. Had no offers to. Had made New South Wales schoolboys, but had missed Australian schoolboys and didn't have any contract offers or anything like that coming out of school. I mean, very few guys did back then. Just came down here for uni and would go to all the Brumbies games because I was in the grandstand for every game the Brums won in 2004. which was amazing. And when they went, I was in the stands for the grand final in 04. And but yeah, it was at UC at University of Canberra, and they have sort of a market day in O Week, and Uni North Owls had a stall, and I was like, oh yeah, I need a rugby club. Like that's what I do on the weekend is I play sport, I play rugby, and I was in a new city, needed to make friends, so signed up for the rugby club and just kept playing, through the Owls, and was lucky enough to the end of that first year played some really good footy with the Owls. We got to the grand final with Colts and got my way into the Brumbies Academy, and just sort of kept chipping away. Finally got a contract. I mean, this is a pretty long story, so I don't know how long we got. Like I nearly got kicked out of the Brums Academy for being a bit of a piss wreck. Bill Swain, the manager. I was living on campus at UC, and I was probably spending a little too much. Well, definitely was spending too much time at the pub, and missing training or coming to training a bit dusty. And I blew out. I wasn't really looking after myself. And the Brums threatened to kick me out, and I'd failed everything at uni. I'd one semester failed every subject. I was injured. Brums were going to kick me out. UC put me on academic probation, and my parents came down and took me out the top of Red Hill, and they sat me down. They go, Ben, the uni's going to kick you out. Brumbies are going to kick you out of the academy. Is this what you want? And I was like, well, no, I love the Brumbies. Like, I don't want to get kicked out, and I want to finish my degree. And they're like, right, I will. They then organised me to move in with my grandparents who'd moved to Canberra, and that got me off campus and sort of stopped partying. And my Nana was a part of Weight Watchers, so she'd lost a lot of weight herself through Weight Watchers, so she had a lot of good food around the house. And did a summer living with them and got really fit, and then ended up next year playing my best footy and got into the Australian 21s, and then got my first contract with the Brums, but then a week after training snapped my leg in half and missed a year. Lost the contract, missed a year. Oh, no. And that's a long way of saying, so then I thought that was the end of I got this contract but had this really badly broken leg, lost my contract. Was lucky enough, was out for a year, and then an English club gave me a chance, Bedford, which is a championship side. So there's the premiership, went and played a season there, and then came back and didn't really know what to do. Come back and no contract offers, but very luckily was going to come back to Canberra to finish uni, but I was really lucky that there's the ARC, the Australian Rugby Championship, for one season. There was they were going to run this tournament, and I was really lucky. Ben Robinson, who was a teammate, I played at school with him and played against him at school. I played club rugby with him and ended up playing Wallabies together. He'd missed out on the World Cup, but he got injured in the first week of that. So I got called into the Western Sydney rounds to the ARC and ended up playing pretty well. And then the Brums offered me a contract to come back, and then that was in 2007. And then the next year got a run off the bench for the Brums. I only got four matches off the bench that year, and then was like, wow, the goal at the start of that season was just to play one game for the Brums off the bench. Just get my Brums cap. Like, that would be what a year. Anyway, I got 4 and was end of the year on Mad Monday thinking, geez, I've had a good season. And I went out. I ended up back at my some uni mate's house after Mad Monday. It had been a big day. And the next day just was at my mate's pretty hungover and had a phone call from the Wallaby manager, Phil Thompson. So I was like, I answered the phone. I go, hello, Ben speaking. And he goes, oh, hi, Ben, it's Phil Thompson. You've made the Wallabies. And I was like, what? And I was on my mate's balcony, and I sort of was, oh, okay. And I apparently I stumbled a bit into the railing of the balcony, and I was, oh, okay. And he goes, yeah, you got to fly to Sydney tomorrow. We've got a camp or press announcement tomorrow, whatever. And went back inside to tell my mates, and they go, Ben, who was that, mate? Did someone die? I said, no, I just got picked for the Wallabies. And apparently because my face had just gone pale, and I was as shocked as anyone. Flew to Sydney the next day. They did the press announcement at a hotel in Manly, announced the Wallaby squad. So I'd found out the day before, couldn't sleep that night. Flew to Sydney, and it was with Robbie Deans. It was Robbie Deans' first Wallaby squad, and I was the bolter. And I remember going, iPhones had just been released not long before, and I went back to my hotel room, and I think I had 600 messages or something, most messages I ever got in my life. And then, just trained hard, a couple of guys, not really knuckled down. I think Al Baxter missed a game through injury, or Matt Dunning got injured, so I ended up getting a couple of caps off the bench. And I just remember it's all a blur that season because the nickname I got, my first Wallaby nickname, Lottie Takiri gave it to me, and I was Statue because he'd be like, Statue, bro, and I'd just be standing there like a statue at training, and the team like lunch, we're in the hotel, we're having lunch, I'd just be like dead quiet, like shit, you know. And I knew George Smith and Sterling like from Brumbies, but like just, you know, Lottie Takiri and Matt Giddo, and I was just petrified. And so that first year, just huge blur, but just really, really knuckled down, trained hard, and was really fortunate that Deansy saw something in me that I didn't see, and was played well on the spring tour, and then next year played really well in 2009 for the Brums, and then ended up getting a start and played really well for the Wallabies that year, and had up and down career, but that first year's huge blur. I mean, I've talked about it for about. I say it's a blur, and it is. It's compressing sort of, I don't know, 7 years into
it's huge.
5 minutes. But
And because you would have gone on a number of tours since then, and you went on your first spring tour after that, and you go on tours to South Africa, to New Zealand, all over the world, which is what rugby gives you. There must have been so many moments where you're just pinching yourself going,
oh, that first year was heaps.
Yeah.
My first, I didn't go with the team so I made my debut against France in Sydney. So my home, come off the bench in my home city. So that was like, wow, huge pinch me moment. The other one was my first tour away with the team was to South Africa. I didn't play, didn't get picked, but got to be in the, train that whole week. I think we beat South Africa in 08. I can't remember if it was Durban or Cape Town, but just, to be in the grandstand when we beat the Springboks, in South Africa, which very rarely happened. That was like, wow. And then to go on my first spring tour, it was the centenary of the Wallabies of spring tours, of the Wallabies travelling to England. And the year before in 2007, England had knocked us out of the World Cup. Yeah. They'd smashed the scrum and they knocked us out. But then to be in the grandstand, I didn't get picked to play when we played England. But this is one of my favourite Wallaby matches. I didn't play. I was just in the squad, in the grandstand, suited up watching, but we absolutely gave it to the Poms in 2008. Al Baxter, Benny Robbo, Steve Moore, the Wallaby scrum just smashed the English scrum and beat them to get a bit of revenge for that 2007 quarterfinal loss. So to be in the grandstand watching that was a huge pinch-me moment, whereas 12 months earlier I had no Wallaby contract. Oh, no, I think I'd just signed my contract. But hadn't played a Super Rugby game. And I remember watching that quarterfinal at home at my parents' before I had to go back to Canberra, and to then 12 months later being in the squad and watching the Wallabies get revenge. And that was the spring tour. We also met the Queen. That was pretty awesome to get to go to the
talk about it.
Windsor Castle. So we just got invited to Windsor Castle. So they're one out in the sticks a bit. Not Buckingham Palace, but their sort of country one. And it's basically like a museum, on Tuesday night, we're on a team bus. I think it was a Tuesday, and we had to go present. John O'Neill, was the CEO, so he had a big sign of a frame picture of like the 1908 Wallabies and then the 2008 Wallabies, and present it to the Queen at a bit of a function. And it was like a museum. Like you go in and the huge castle walls, and like there's just knights, like armor, hundreds of knights' armor all hung up around whatever room we came into first, and then we got taken off into don't know if it was the library or it was just some sort of function room, and we got broken up into little groups of 5 or 6, and they put and you had to stand. They said, now stand in semicircles, and you just wait till Your Majesty comes out, and we're just all standing there. And I told my mates, message back home, said, guys, I'm going to get to meet the Queen, and they told me something stupid to say, like something smart ass. So I had something, I can't remember what I was going to say, but like something witty. And then as soon as she came in, you were just like, you just shit yourself and go, oh my God, it's the Queen. And she was great. And all of us were all like super nervous, and she was really good at making conversation. And she'd come around and she'd be just drinking a little cup like this. And I was standing next to Digby Ione. He said something dumb that everyone laughed at. And she asked something about, do we fit in the airplane seats or something flying over? And a few guys knew that she loved her race horsing. So they'd ask her, how'd your horse run, Your Majesty? And she was really good with all that. But she had a glass with her with a bit of ice, and she'd be drinking away. And she hung around for about half an hour, and we presented her the thing and the frame, and she walked off. we all raced. She put her drink down. She put her drink down the left, and we all raced over to like have a little sip, pass it round, saying, "Oh, we've drunk the Queen's dregs, the water." And it was straight gin on the rocks. And I was like, respect Big Liz. She needs a bit of gin to get through a Tuesday night with some brain-dead footballers. But, after meeting, I used to know a bit of we teased Damo here at Lonsdale Studio. He's got a picture of the King Charles and that on the out in the studio kitchen. And, I'm not big monarchist and was always like, a bit of a we'd had the vote for the Republic or whatever in the late 90s and was always anti-British. But after I met the Queen, geez, I wouldn't hear anyone say a bad word about Liz. She was, huge respect for me after meeting her. And just, just such great tradition, the royal family. I mean, they got their flaws, but I've got a British passport as well. So there's a part of me that there's a bit of Benio that is English that I keep quiet. But
I've heard that gin story and I thought it was fake.
There's heaps of guys all ran over and we were all like Sam Coyley, Drew Mitchell. I've seen Drew Mitchell tell his version of, he sipped it too, and we were all like, can't remember who got the first sip to be like, oh, this is gin.
That's so good.
Yeah. So anyway, thinking it was, the Queen was a water and
So you mentioned scrummaging. That was such a large part of the position that you played within international rugby and club rugby. What was your relationship like with scrummaging?
It's good at the start when the scrums go well. Yeah. If you're it's just like it's a team within a team. So when the scrum's going good, it's awesome. There's not much of a better feeling than when your scrum goes forward or you lock it down if you're on the tight end and you can lock down and give clean ball to the backs and they can score a try off first phase from your scrum and you get to walk back to halfway going, oh, job's done, how good's this? But again, on the flip side, when you're getting dealt to, it's pretty awful. And there was certainly times where I maybe thought I was better than I thought I was because the scrum was going good, but you're really like the scrum is the sum of its parts. And when you're in a good scrum, you can think you're an amazing scrummager, but it's really you're just in a good scrum. It is a team thing. And, of course, if it goes wrong, the tight end gets blamed and vice versa. Like if it goes well, you go, oh, the tight end's amazing. But really it's a team thing. Of course, there's some parts and more, like a car, the engine's probably the most important part, but you still need the axles, the tyre, the steering wheel. Yeah. So – then there were parts like, as I said earlier, I'd never dreamed I'd be good enough to play one game for the Brumbies, let alone play for the Wallabies, let alone play as many as I did. And, my rise, as we said, was pretty meteoric. And before I knew it, I'm starting for the Wallabies, playing well. Like, it was a hell of a roller coaster. And I just fell for, but like, I'd let my whole identity become Ben the footballer. It just so much of my self-worth was tied to how well I played, and how well I played as a prop was perceived by how well I scrummed. And the reality is how well I scrummed, like of course there's some good scrummaging props, bad scrummaging props, but a lot of it does come down to being part of a team. And we had some, especially against the Lions, we got touched up and the scrum was a big part of 12 years ago when we lost. I got sent off because the scrum was, it was not going very well. It was going terribly, actually. And I beat myself up for a very long time about it. And I never, sadly enjoyed my international footy again. But that was that's just because I'd let my whole identity become Ben the footballer, tied to how well I played. And the reality is scrummaging is a team thing. It's never any one person's fault why it goes wrong, but it's also never any one person's reason why it goes great. It really is a collective thing, and it's really a collective thing.
Yeah. How do you pick yourself up from those moments? Because everyone sees a professional athlete and they see the success and everything that comes with it. You mean the Queen, but you've also got a mind that's similar to everyone else's that has its doubts and worries and anxiety. And how do you pick yourself up from the moments that it's not going well for you? Because you're right in the spotlight.
Yeah, it's when you rely on your teammates and the people around you, even people outside the team. So I sort of, after losing that Lions series and I get sent off and I copped a lot of the criticism, and rightly so, I was really lucky, came back to Brums, and we ended up playing really well. Like my teammates, Brums teammates really got round me. We ended up going and making the grand final, and the scrum went really well. It was a big part of Brums making that grand final. And it was really my teammates just getting around me, and we just getting on with the next game, playing it. But I never dealt with just like it's so hard to describe running out in a Lions series decider, how proud you are, like this feeling of pride, sing the national anthem, the whole nation's watching, the whole rugby world's watching, and then just like complete shame and embarrassment 20 minutes later. It was like just something I describe it like it's like a trauma. And I know that some people might say that as belittling the word, because some people have real traumas, like soldiers and domestic violence survivors. But for me, as someone who'd never had anything bad, I'm super grateful now looking back. Like I never lost a family member. My life had been amazing, like up until that point. So, but for me, based on my journey in life, that was just something I really struggled to process it and get over it. And a big part of that was because I didn't talk to anyone about it. So, and the reason why, is, a lot of just probably pride. Thought, I can sort this out. I can get over this myself. And it wasn't until getting over it. It was actually Breeny, the Running for Resilience founder, who you and I know very well. The start of me getting over it was him and I were running for Resilience one Friday morning along the lake. And we're just probably, 4K into the run. We're coming back towards the foreshore. It's a cold but sunny morning, like beautiful, crisp Canberra morning. And we're just running along. And I don't know how the topic came up, but some big games that I'd played in came up. I think he asked about the World Cup when we lost to Ireland.
Yeah.
That pool game the year before, a couple of years before it. He was saying where he remembered where he was when he was watching it. And then that Lions decider came up. And then he starts telling me about he was in some bar somewhere and he was reciting how he remembers the game. And the guy was completely wrong. Like he was getting every bit, but I was like, this guy hardly remembers. Like, I thought that's how I'd be remembered forever was, losing this game, being hopeless in this one's, in this game. I thought that's how I would be valued as a person, how I'd be remembered forever. And running with Breeny, it made me realise, God, this guy knows me pretty well, but he's getting all that facts wrong. And it made me realise no one really even remembers. And if they do, no one cares or judges me as a person. But I was judging myself as a person because my whole identity had been wrapped up in being Ben the footballer. Sorry, that's a really roundabout way of answering you. But it was running a Breeny, and then it made me realise, people don't even remember. And even if they do care, it's probably some rugby fan that I'm never going to meet, because everyone I know, none of them care. Like, that's not how they see Ben. They see Ben the dad, Ben the brother, Ben the son, Ben the pub owner, Ben the charity founder, and Ben the footballer. Still really proud of that part of my life. But
that moment doesn't define you. I was actually at that game. I don't even remember you getting sent off.
Yeah, I do.
I don't even clearly. But I remember the strength of their team, and
they were awesome. They were a great team.
It's fascinating that you're just building that into your head. I'd love to talk about running for resilience, but before we go on that, is there one player that you played with or against that you thought this person's on another planet?
Oh, the two, George Smith and played with George Smith, and then against McCaw. Like McCaw was he was good. He's real good. Yep.
Rugby IQ, physicality.
Oh, relentless. Relentless. Like, I don't know, remember what scrum we were playing the All Blacks? And I don't know, we sort of had a little nudge on him at a scrum, and I pushed, I think it was Wyatt Crockett, but McCaw was the flanker, and he just came up and pushed me back, and then we packed down the scrum, and then they got us that next scrum. And he just, never took a backward step, but never was, niggly, trying to punch or fight. He just was so focused, so relentless on winning, getting the job done. Senator Pocock's another few games of his were just next level. And one that people don't talk about enough, I think, Pat McCabe. Just the courage that guy played with was next level.
What a centre.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't know when that 2011 World Cup quarterfinal, which Poey played the house down and a ton of steals, and we knocked out the reigning champs out of the World Cup. We'd lost to Ireland in the pool match. That Poey was out sick, and we lost that pool match, which meant we then ended up on the Springboks and the All Blacks side of the draw. And, yeah, we somehow beat South Africa that day, and Poey was a big part of it. But what people don't remember is that Pat McCabe had done his shoulder against the USA 2 weeks earlier, and everyone knew he had a bad shoulder, and the Springboks just sent like all their biggest forwards, like Bucky's Botha, Skultberger, all their biggest boys just down Pat's channel with a bad shoulder, and he sat every single one of them down. And then he had to get a shoulder reconstruction after the tour. But him and I roomed that week. I mean, my back was screwed and his shoulder was stuffed, and we were rooming together and take painkillers, go to training, come back, take some more painkillers, and we just lie there and watch Seinfeld for like this whole week leading up to that quarterfinal. And just, how he put his body on the line that day is something that just I never seen anything more brave a human being than what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the people, what they put their lives on the line at war to save their mates and dodge bullets and stuff, but in a sporting context, it's the bravest thing I've ever seen, how Paddy Mack just, defended that day and knowing how much pain he was in with his bad shoulder. You wouldn't know watching it, but knowing the backstory was just, the guy was
huge.
just what a legend.
You've been really open and honest around your journey after rugby and how running has just helped you through some of the darker times, and running with friends is a big part of that, and then socialising with friends, whether you're drinking a water or something in hand. I know you've spoken about this. Running for Resilience was born. Breeny, as you've mentioned before. What does Running for Resilience mean to you now?
It's a mission. Mission to make Canberra suicide-free. That a lot of people say when you retire, you need something to retire to. You're not retiring from sport. You got to retire to something. And for most of my life, rugby and sport made me jump out of bed in the morning. And now with my work, with my talks and with R4R, I jump out of bed every morning now. So it's in pursuit of the mission of trying to make Canberra suicide-free. Whether we achieve it or not is irrelevant. It's as long as, Breeny started R4R to save one life from suicide, and we've done that. We've been told we've done that many times from people. And we're going to work as hard as we can to try and not just eliminate suicide, but then improve the mental health of all Canberrans. So, if I had to wrap R4R up into one word now, at the start it was very much just a very selfish thing that it was, I was retired and all my friends had left Canberra and all were still playing, so I was pretty lonely. But then Breeny emailing the doc asking if we'd host this one-off run. We said, yeah, no worries, we'll shout everyone beer and pizza, and just getting to know Breeny each week and made a lot of just amazing friends. So it'd be mission and friends, like the two words of what R4R means to me, is I've made so many incredible friends through that community. And the fact that we're all pursuing the same mission is just really, really exciting. And I've only ever felt like that when I've been with the Wallabies or with the Brumbies, being in this really close-knit group all working hard towards a common goal. I think that's what athletes really miss in retirement, especially people that played in team sports, is finding that little group of people that you're really tight with and that you trust, and that you're all sort of rowing in the same direction in life.
It's fascinating talking about it, because obviously I started running with mates after R4R, and because even without hitting the heights that you hit with rugby, playing in a team all your life, you're still chasing that camaraderie, going into battle and then rewarding yourself after with those people. And I never realised that I was going to miss it as just an amateur. And so I can't imagine what it's like missing it as a professional athlete, there would have been maximum 500 people at a game for me, and you've played in front of 90,000, but it's still the same feeling of missing that thing. Where's R4R going now? Like, you've built it up, you're really putting a lot of time and energy into it. What's the next couple of years look like?
More events. So what the goal's suicide-free Canberra, and to do that, so we've got our strategy day next weekend. We do like an annual strategy day at my folks' farm. And that last year's one, was our first one as a formal charity, and we said our goals are suicide-free Canberra. And okay, that's great, but how are we going to do it? And I guess how we're going to do it is we're going to connect every Canberran to the support they need. All right, so that's support they need, got to connect everyone. But like, people need different types of support. Most people are pretty good. They just got natural bumps in life, and we think they just need to exercise with friends regularly. just exercise and catch up with friends regularly once a week, and that's really all. That's the support they need, is just mates and exercise. And so we're going to try and put on as many events as possible, not just running, but all different sports. We've already got yoga once a month. We had a pickleball day that went well. We've had some other sports reach out, so try and create more events, because not everyone likes running. So try and create more opportunities for people to exercise with friends, whatever the sport. Then the next layer of people are struggling, like me, coming out of sport with some stuff, some baggage that I need help processing, and I need to learn some skills. Those people need the right professional support. So a lot of people, when they finally decide to get help, they go see a psychologist, and it's not a great experience. They don't get the right help, and then they just write all psychologists off, and they say, oh, they're all garbage. When the reality is there's some amazing ones, and then there's some not amazing ones. And why my experience with a psychologist was so good was because I reached out to Brums when I was really struggling at my lowest, and they put me in touch with a psychologist who was an ex-athlete herself, who'd worked with lots of rugby league clubs, lots of sports, one of the best in the business, Gayleen Clues. And my experience with her was incredible. And I had to see her for a couple of months, but she got me back on my feet and been going gangbusters ever since. And but I was lucky. I had the Brumbies as like a triage service that connected me with the right support, with the right psychologist. So running for resilience last year, thanks to Gayleen, we met the team early this year, met the team at the Medicare Mental Health Centre, which is a free triage service. So you can rock up for free, you don't need an appointment, and they will assess you and then connect you with a psychologist that if you've got PTSD, they can connect you with a psychologist that specialises in that. Or if you've got an eating disorder, they'll connect you with a psychologist that specialises in that. So it's like the ED emergency at the hospital. You're going in there, and then it's, if you've got a broken leg, you don't want to get sent to the cardiologist. You want to go see the orthopedic surgeon. So Medicare Mental Health Centre, they'll then increase the chances. So we promote them. We see R4R as a lighthouse. We're shining light on the support people can get. We're not the life vest. We're not a lifeboat. We're not even a lifeguard. We're going to be a lighthouse to help people. We're going to then shine the light on all the amazing services there are. There's almost too many services, and so people don't know where to go to get the right professional support. So we're going to be a bit of a lighthouse in that area. And then finally, so events, professional support, and the final support people need to be connected to is stories. And so now, we were talking about the R4R potty. We're up to episode 9, trying to follow in Mick's footsteps. We're going to need some help. We definitely need some help from you, mate. But what has certainly helped me and helped others is when I have been struggling is reading and connecting with people's stories who've been through a similar struggle and then seeing how they overcome it. Like, even if you don't know the person, it's just amazing to hear a story about someone kind of like yourself or like me going through a similar struggle and hearing how they overcame it. And so that's why we started at the newsletter. It just sort of organically started, the Running for Resilience RAG, our weekly newsletter, and people were sharing their stories and people were connecting of, people who had struggled through divorce or the loss of a parent, or people were supporting each other through struggle. And then so the podcast is sort of the next evolution of that. So hopefully in 12 months' time, 2 years' time, we'll have made more progress towards connecting people to, making it easier for people to exercise with friends, connecting them to the right professional support, and connecting them to stories that they can draw inspiration from.
Oh, there's so much you said there. The lighthouse analogy is amazing. I don't know whether you just came up with it.
No, Medicare Mental Health Centre, someone from their team.
That's amazing.
They came up with that for us. And
it makes so much
thought about
sense.
looking at it in this way, and it's spot on.
It's so good. And then the other thing around storytelling and podcasts, and this is one of the reasons I love it, is because people really want authenticity and vulnerability, and storytelling brings that out in the host and the guest and whoever brings on. So the R4R pod that you're doing at the moment, it's so special. I can't wait to see where it goes next. Can you remember anything in particular the psychologist from the Brums told you? Was there one thing that she said, do this and it will help you on your journey?
Yeah, big time. There's the main bit that she explained, we used to go for a walk at the start of each session, and she explained a bit of the neurochemical stuff, like, you weaning off all the excitement and explained all the neurochemical things. But what really helped me was she talked about there's all these different thinking patterns that we sort of develop over time. And she gave me this sheet which had about 12 different thinking habits: catastrophizing, ruminating, black and white thinking, making a mountain out of a molehill. Like there's all these. And she said, gave me the sheet and she said, Ben, how many of these do you have? And I looked at the sheet and I had all 12. I was like, and she goes, no wonder why you're exhausted. Your brain is just wasting so much energy thinking in these unhelpful ways. And I'd been so obsessed with nutrition, sleep, exercise leading up to that because I was worried when I'd retire that I'd get depressed and struggle. So I, did a lot of research and tried to prepare myself for retirement. And so I was super obsessive around, sleep and all that to try and keep my energy up. But I had to do that because I had all these unhelpful ways of thinking. And then I was driving home from that appointment and I was like, man, all those ways are just such wastes of energy to think. And that didn't solve that problem right there. But having that epiphany driving home helped me whenever I started ruminating or started thinking in that way. I was like, Ben, that's just a waste of energy. And it helped me stop. And then gradually I started catching myself earlier. And sometimes I still do, overreact and see things black and white when it's usually probably a bit of the answer somewhere in the grey. Just catching myself. And so that, she just really helped open my eyes to all these really unhelpful ways of thinking. And super grateful working with a bit of a coach at the moment who's got a background in positive psychology, and the way I used to think positive psychology was kind of all airy-fairy, like, oh, everything's going to be fine and be happy all the time. Whereas he sort of taught me, helped me understand that, the area of psychology, a lot of the initial research and funding was going into helping people who were clinically depressed, suicidal, to get them from feeling a 1 out of 10 to a 4 or 5, to get them stable. And that's where most people in life are. They're around a 4, most people think about 4 or 5, and that you sort of describe that as languishing in life. Yeah. Whereas positive psychology, it's about getting people from a 4 or 5 to a 9 or a 10 most days and getting people thriving. And a lot of that work I've had to do around that is, from getting from a 1 to 4 or 5 was unwiring all those unhelpful ways of thinking. And then what been doing work with Ben, Hudson's his name, getting me up to feeling like a 9 or a 10 most days has been, again, challenging another thought that I thought everything in life had to be hard. Like I thought, everything has to be hard. It has to be a grind if it's worth achieving. Nothing could be further from the truth, except maybe in sport. Yeah, you got to grind if you're trying, but that life becomes, Ben showed me that life, it becomes a lot easier when you're very clear with what your own values are. Not, he asked me to write down my values and I wrote them back, and then he goes, no, they're not your values. They're what you think they should be, what other people, and then I went back and he was, he's right, and spent more time being very clear, a few days thinking, what are my values? And then just being, very clear on what my values are and acting with self-compassion, like being just so much, cutting myself so much more slack. I have more energy than ever before, that I'm, the energy I am using is being used in line with my values, and I'm cutting myself some slack because I used to be my own my own harshest critic in everything I did. And that just, again, wasted so much of my energy. And I don't know how we got onto this, but...
No, because I was asking about the one thing that you took away from the
so it was realizing I had all these unhelpful ways of thinking, these thought patterns, and they're just habits ways of thinking. And then, that was the main thing, getting me from sort of a 1 out of 10 to a 4 or 5. And then it's being very clear about my values and learning when to cut myself some slack is what sort of get me up from languishing to I feel that I'm thriving.
Just the rewiring. I've loved this. I could have gone on about the Wallabies for ages, but I wanted everyone to enjoy this, not just Wallabies fans. I love finishing this conversation off with what we're proud of. We don't do it enough. There's a bit of tall poppy syndrome in the country, and I love hearing what people are proud of, personally and professionally. So if I asked you what you're proud of, list as little as you want, but what are you proud of personally?
My family. Very proud of my family, my girls, my wife. Super proud of them. Proud of me. I'm really just proud of myself that I got through that transition out of sport, which is bloody only just got out of it. But yeah, I'm just really proud that I got through it, and really proud of myself that for overcoming obstacles and that I'm giving back and helping other people. That's proud of my family and proud of myself, just in general.
It's because it means everything. It means everything. You are really focusing on
the
keynote
tall
speaking.
poppy syndrome. I just want to say is just. It's just people who are not happy with themselves and they just tear anyone down that is doing well, and that's got to die. It holds all of Australia back. Like I know when some people get ahead of themselves, you're doing them a favour just to don't get too far ahead of yourself. But I think as a culture we've gone way too far, and now everyone's too scared to be proud of themselves, and it's a big part. I think it's a huge part of this mental health. Maybe it's not the cause of it, but it's certainly a symptom of the mental health epidemic, especially online. You were saying about one of your reels going viral, and you're just online. You attract all these sadly, people who probably have thought patterns that were on that sheet of paper that Galen. I think Tall Poppy might have even been on there, or being critical of like others was on there. Like if you're super critical of yourself and others, that was on there. So call a spade. People who aren't mentally in great shape, but we're interacting with all these people online, and it's Tall Poppy syndrome. Something we've got to have empathy for those people who are going out and trying to chop down poppies, but also push back and say that behaviour is not acceptable. We want people to flourish and thrive in this country and to follow their passions and be proud of what they do, and that we shouldn't shy away from it. Yeah, we shouldn't boast and rub it in people's faces, but we shouldn't shy away from the things we're proud of.
Yeah. And that's what we're just instilling in our daughters. Tell me what you're proud of, and that's one of the big things we're really focusing on for them. As we round this out, we could chat all day, but I know we can't. As we round this out, you are a keynote speaker.
You have to go on tour again, mate.
I'll go on tour again, but you're a keynote speaker. Plug yourself and your keynote speaking. So anyone that's listening that does need a keynote speaker, corporate gigs, go on, tell us. What are you doing?
Energy management, for peak performance or beating burnout. So I was after the pandemic, helped get the doc through the pandemic, and then was like, I need to go do something else. And got a job at KPMG doing change management, and myself and a cyclist, an ex-athlete, got asked to get up and give a high-performance story about sport. And Jesse was a cyclist who used to flog himself. He talked about self-compassion, which is what we were talking about before. And then I talked about energy management. Like if you do all the things like sleep, nutrition, like look after yourself, you can then train and be at your best. So it's like, managing your energy and applying that to office life. And that talk seemed to go really well, and then started doing more internally, and KPMG sent me around to some of the other teams around the country, and then got asked to do one externally. I posted something on LinkedIn and got asked to do one externally for a co-working space here in Canberra, and that went really well. And then at the start of last year, my wife was like, you should give this a crack. A lot of burnout. So there's managing energy to perform at your best, which is the sports side, but it's also the same, sort of been through that journey, managing your energy has helped me get off the ground from when I was chronically depressed and burnt out. It's all just managing energy management, but just other ends of the spectrum. And burnout's pretty bad here in Canberra, and especially in government. And wife said, why don't you give this a crack? So I finished up, started doing a bit more work for Running for Resilience, and got a website, benalexandertalks.com, and just started writing on LinkedIn my thoughts around and sharing some stories in writing about thoughts on the topic and sharing those stories from sport and some in retirement. Talk about resilience as well. Not that I'm any resiliency expert, but just getting asked to tell the Running for Resilience story as it's getting some more and more popular in Canberra, and how our community looks at resilience and how it's defined or how we define it. And it's going really well. Did one for Warner Music at the start of the year, got one for Allianz Finance.
That's so good. Big shout out to Jen.
Yeah, mate.
Big shout out to Jen.
The biggest.
Oh, what a wonderful person. I've loved where this has gone. You're such an incredibly authentic, honest, genuine person, and I'm so thankful for you to sit down today. So thank you.
Cheers, mate. You too, mate. Keep up. I've loved following Running with Mates, the journey, and following your podcasting and your social content, mate. You are as genuine and authentic as they come. And like on behalf of Jen and I, thank you for sorting out our home loan and getting all that done. Absolute breeze. So thank you, mate. And I'm bloody excited to follow your journey further, mate, because you're a bloody good fella. And how good's this, eh?
Go the Wallabies.
Go the Wallabies. And the Owls.
And the Owls. Hoot.
Hoot.
Thank you so much for listening. It's amazing to have you as part of this community for That Backyard Property Pod. Remember, please hit like, subscribe, follow, and send through any questions that you have. We cannot wait to see you again next Tuesday. If you can't wait though, remember we have minis that come out every Thursday, which go into a little bit more depth into the lending and mortgage world. Thanks again and can't wait to see you again.